sharing. For the examples that I used, right, he shared the example, Journal of Southeast Asian Studies. Here it is published by Cambridge University Press. Actually, the copyright still resides with the NUS. Okay? So with that information, it doesn't change the process, the workflow, in that you can check Shopper-Romeo as a first point, and then upload, take it on face value. And then, as mentioned, it will come to us, we will do further checking. The implication is that because of all this checking, you may not see the full text 3 weeks. It may, for the full text to go into the arena to be accessible by the public. It also means that retain the copyright transfer agreement that we signed. Right? And it's very important, we feel, the team feels that you send us or deposit the versions if they are allowed, the post-print, pre-print. The reason being, like just now Sok-Ching was sharing, we met up with Elsevier, and they said that although they keep post-print, it is only for 2 years. So even if we want, as a library, to get from them, they may not be available to the publisher, and they may not have mechanisms to strip off their copy editing to convert whatever is the published version to the post-print. All right. So with that, thank you. I will pass the session on to Aaron.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Aaron. I'm from obviously NUS Libraries. Not from. Not from you. Hello. Yes. Hello. Yes. Okay. Yeah, my name is Aaron. I'm from NUS Libraries. Some of my duties includes I'm the e-services facilitator. So I'm in charge of things like find more subsystems and various things. I'm obviously not from Google, but I do have some interest in Google and Google Scholar. So today I'm going to talk to you about Google Scholar. In particular, earlier this morning we talked about putting up papers in Scholar Bank, in academic TVU and so on. But the reason why we're going to put such things up is that we want to increase the visibility of our papers. And increasingly, visibility means appearing in Google or Google Scholar. So for this session, I'm going to talk a bit about Google and Google Scholar in particular. What is known about Google Scholar and how it will impact Scholar Bank. So I'll talk about visibility of Google Scholar as well as the impact. So what do we actually know about Google Scholar? Okay, the thing is, in theory, we should get this guy to present. He's the chief engineer of Google Scholar, leading a relatively small team in Google. So at this point, usually when a librarian gives about Google Scholar, you make a lot of disclaimers that we can't really know much about Google Scholar or Google because we are not we don't purchase Google Scholar, so they don't really respond to us, and it's difficult for us to find out things about it because we don't actually host the system and so on, compared to systems like Scopus or Web of Science where we are a paying customer and they are forced to reply to us, even though their replies may sometimes be obscure. Okay, so there's this very famous saying that if you're not paying for something, you want the product, right? The thing is, we recently found out, in fact 2 weeks ago, that this means that Google doesn't respond to people is not quite true. A contact that I have in the US, academic librarian, pointed me to this person, who is the partner manager at Google Scholar. She's in charge of outreach to libraries and publishers. Okay, she's actually, in fact, as I speak, we are actually exchanging emails this morning because we were asking things about the visibility of some of our Scholar Bank items in Google Scholar, and we are trying to iron out some bugs currently. Okay, so we do have a contact with Google Scholar, very new development, 2 weeks ago, and her response time is very good. Okay, so we are not, so what I'm saying is that if I'm not able to answer any of your questions, we can try our luck by asking our Google Scholar contact. Yeah, I'm not sure whether she'll answer individual users because she's doing outreach with publishers as well as libraries. In the case of libraries that are interested in us because of Scholar Bank, we supply information. Okay. So obviously, even she probably also won't answer every single question. So, but there's a lot of intense interest in Google Scholar, a lot of papers, a lot of people writing papers and studying Google Scholar. So I just saw this last month, it's very new. It's by this group in Spain. I think they're one of the leading groups studying Google Scholar. A lot of papers on Google Scholar by them. They came out with this biography and a digest. I was just reading through some of the papers. They talked about what is known about Google Scholar, what people have found out about Google Scholar. Okay, so maybe some of you maybe even read some of these papers. So for today, I'm just going to distill down to a couple of things that might be of interest to you. Google is trying to Googleize everything. So one of the things they're trying to Googleize is the academic world, right? So they're working on the education part. So, so of course you are aware that Thomson Reuters has been around for a while, or rather earlier versions. Web of Science just celebrated 50-year anniversary, right? The Science Citation Index, 50 years of anniversary. Unfortunately, right now they're facing competition on Google Scholar. So that's the Google version. They have Researcher ID, and the Google version is Google Citations. And of course, there's a famous JCR, which has impact factors. Google also recently came out with their own version called Google Scholar Metrics. Okay, so they're Googleizing everything. So my job today, if you're not familiar, is to compare and contrast these two systems. And in many ways, I'll give you the librarian take on how Google does things compared to traditional library databases. It's very different, very shocking actually. So this is Web of Science, obviously. Google Scholar, Researcher ID, Google Scholar Citations. A lot of you have this, I'm going to check out. JCR, the impact factors, and this is the Google Scholar version. So you can see Google is competing on all fronts. So, but what exactly is Google Scholar? Obviously you know and you've used it, I'm pretty sure all of you have used it. It's used to search broadly for scholarly literature. Okay? So the question that at least I was wondering is that how does it differ from Google? Obviously, you might one way of thinking about it is that you could think that whatever is in Google Scholar is in Google. Okay, is that true? The answer is kind of. If you search for a title of an article in Google and Google Scholar, the first hit is exactly the same. It goes to the main paper in Wiley. Okay, so it seems like everything in Google Scholar is in Google. Unfortunately, that's not quite true. If you try searching for full text of a paper, let's say you copy some full text in the paper and you paste in Google, you realize that there are no results. And yet Google Scholar has the result. Okay? So this shows that the index of Google Scholar is different. Okay? Google Scholar is actually allowed to look into behind the paywall, they go behind the paywall and grab the PDF. Or for Google, they can only grab whatever's in the abstract because they're blocked by the paywall. So Google Scholar, the harvesters, actually have a special arrangement with Elsevier, with Wiley, with Sage to go behind the paywall to grab the full text. That is why Google Scholar actually gives you higher visibility. If someone searches for something in the full text, it will appear. Okay, so this is the first difference between Google and Google Scholar. Okay. The other thing that, from a librarian point of view, that's very shocking or different is that Google Scholar, how does it actually obtain the articles? Okay, Google Scholar, what it does is that similar to Google, it sends out automatic bots to crawl the whole web and to pull in information. Okay, so it's an automatic process, there's no human process. And where do they actually crawl? They crawl publisher sites. Okay, so the normal Wiley and Sage. They crawl institutional and subject repositories. And even things like Academic EDU, ResearcherGate, and so on. So they crawl there. And they even crawl individual papers put up on portal homepages. So I know a lot of you actually put up papers on your FASS website and you link it to your CV. Those are also picked up. Okay, so it's pretty much looking through all of them. Okay. Okay. So I guess there was a question about Scholar Bank. Does it appear? Obviously it does. Okay, it does. So you can see in this example, one of the few FASS examples that we have, it actually appears as a PDF at the site, as well as the main link to it. Okay, if you're wondering why is there the word citation here, I managed to figure it out. It's basically because for this item, there was no abstract listed on the Scholar Bank. So for some reason, Google Scholar got confused and assumed it was a citation. Okay. This is also unique in the sense that there are no other versions. So remember that Google Scholar is crawling the publisher side, the various institute repositories, the various PDFs and so on. So usually what you do is that you will merge them together. In this particular case, Google Scholar feels that there's only one version. So it shows our version, and it also shows the link to PDF. So either this one will go to our Scholar Bank homepage, not homepage, the article page, the HTML page. This will go straight to the PDF. Okay, so this is a very simple case where it did not really find any variants, and it did not merge them together. Okay, what happens that if you merge several versions? Actually, I was going to talk about merging later, but I think I'll just answer this question. So a very common case that we have is they crawled widely. They grabbed the full text, and we actually uploaded metadata only from Scopus, right? Because we put in metadata from Scopus to Scholar Bank, right? So Scholar Bank would have just the metadata, and let's say we did not put out the PDF. So if that happens, the main version, the main link would go to widely. It's called the primary document. In Google Scholar, they link to the primary document, which is by definition the publisher one. Okay? So if we did not have any full text, we just had a metadata, it will appear as variants. You click, it will show the different variants, including the Scholar Bank version. Okay? But if we had the PDF, it will appear at the site PDF. Okay? So if let's say this is a you click on this, it goes to widely, there will be a paywall, user can't get access, click back, you will probably click on the PDF, and it will go straight to the Scholar Bank PDF. Okay, so if you uploaded a PDF that is available in widely, your PDF will appear at the site, but the main title link go to widely. Okay, that's how it works. A more popular case would be if there are 10 versions. You can see Google Scholar saying that it has this paper in ePrints in, say, London, another version in Scholar Bank, another version in ResearcherGate, another version, and so on. Generally, the main version that comes up will always be the publisher version. If there's no publisher version and there are various subject repositories, which one comes out first? I do not know. Okay, their algorithms are secret. Okay, but they do state that the publisher version will come up first. So I did spend quite a lot of time studying and trying to figure out why sometimes the publisher version will come up, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes Google Scholar get confused. The publisher version will be marked as not the main version because for some reason it's not able to crawl the abstract. So talk more about this merging thing later. Okay, so just to give you a feel of it, I actually pulled out, I went to Google Scholar, and I used Publish or Perish. Okay, this is a tool that allows you to pull results from Google Scholar. And I studied Asian Journal of Social Sciences. And to give you an idea of where it's pulling sources from, you can see that it pulls from all these different places. From Brill, Springer, Ingenta. This one is, I suspect, a link to FASS development for somebody's CV and so on. Okay, so someone put an academic video and so on. Okay. The other thing to note is, I just show you library. Okay, so it took a bit of work, but I pulled out the Excel sheet. So the publisher is usually the domain name. So if you look at it, you can see all these different sources where they're actually pulling from. So if you look at just those placed in, say, academic EDU, and maybe this one, which is actually the FASS one, it seems that there are only two. Okay, which is not true. In fact, there are a lot more papers put on these places. The reason why Publish or Perish is not able to pull it out is that it's pulling out the main version. So the main version is usually a publisher version. So these two are examples where somebody uploaded something, and Google Scholar couldn't find a publisher version. So this was considered a main version, and therefore this was pulled out by Publish or Perish. Okay, so there are a lot more journal articles that we uploaded to these places, but the tool is not able to pull it out. It's basically pulling out, let me show you. So you see all 10 versions? It's basically pulling out the main version. Okay, that's why when I did that, I was quite surprised to see only two. Until I finally realized that actually there are more. It's just pulling out the main version. So if let's say you uploaded to your home page or to Scholar Bank, it will still go to the main version, and yours will come under this all 10 versions, if all went right. Okay. So typically the metadata that we uploaded, usually users won't see it. It will just appear under all 10 versions. But if you did the PDF version, it will appear here. Okay, this is a special case where the journal is already open access, Go. So they're showing the official version from the Go journal. But let's say it is a paywall journal, your PDF would be here, the one that you uploaded. Okay, so your PDF would have visibility. Okay.
Can I just understand what you're trying to say? So if there is a PDF version,
right,
that the source where the PDF version appears will always come first?
The free one will always come first. They like to give basically the PDF is a free version.
Yes.
So if let's say it's the normal journal where there's no free version, it's not a whole journal,
Yes.
your scholar bank one will appear inside.
So the green will always appear first?
Yes. But which green one, we do not know. Unless there's already a gold one, then it will come down to gold. The main link will always be to the publisher site, unless they got confused. So they merge it from various platforms, including, so you can see this one is, in fact this is one in London School of Economics, they are IR, so they're all over the place. Okay, I'm not the copyright police, but you can probably, so we are talking about whether you can actually link to your personal page. Actually read this, in fact this is quite a liberal journal, and you can see that you are actually allowed to post on various versions of that. So yeah, may be posted on us. So this is fine. This is fine. Okay. So so the main thing to note is that Google Scholar crawls all over the place, article by article, and they try to combine it into versions of the same article, right? So this is very different from how typical databases work. In typical databases like Scopus or Web of Science, what they do is that they go to the publisher and say, can you give me all your titles and authors for this journal? So you are almost guaranteed, if Web of Science says we index this from 2008 onwards, you will be guaranteed almost every article in there. All of Google Scholar is hit on this. You will go to all different places. Okay? So one implication is this, if you put up a PDF on your homepage, let's say NUS homepage, Google Scholar will crawl it, okay? And it will try to figure out based on your PDF, whether your author name, your title, and so on. So the question is it possible to manipulate the results? Right? So if you look at the inclusion guidelines for webmasters, they tell you if an individual author, just put up your paper in a certain format with PDF, make sure the title is in large font, the authors are at the bottom, there's a biography at the end. So basically I'm saying, just come up with a paper like this. So this is a tech paper, obviously. Put a title. And just upload it into one of, I think they work on EDU, they like EDU websites. An EDU website. So I've seen we have library guides, right? So I've created library guides. I noticed my library guides appearing in Google Scholar. It's a library guide, it's not even a paper. So they are doing it automatically. There's no control whatsoever. And in theory, what happens is that this will be indexed, and you could even cite your own papers to write. So is this real or fake? Am I just picking up? The point is someone actually did the experiment and it worked. Okay, he manipulated the results by putting up some fake papers, increased his H index with no problems whatsoever. So it's possible. Okay, Google is famous for believing in algorithms and not in human level kind of stuff. Okay, so of course he was asked this question, and he said that the level of spam is low. We can adjust the level of spam handling. So I think he's probably right in the sense that most academics will not attempt to manipulate results. And you're talking about Google here. They are used to people trying to manipulate the Google index, trying to rank high. And they can handle all these people doing SEO, search engine optimization, and things like that. I'm sure they can handle a few academics trying to do it. I don't think academics want to play. So, yeah. So this one is actually not like an issue, but it's an interesting stunt that someone actually did initially. Okay, the other implication is a bit bigger. So we are often asked, Google Scholar, what's the coverage for this journal? I want to publish in this journal. I want to guarantee that it will appear in Google Scholar. So what is the coverage? Okay? The thing is, he was also asked this question, and his answer was basically this. Without reading the whole thing, basically, if you understand what he's trying to say is that he's using harvesters to go to different places. He's grabbing article by article. So he has no proof whatsoever whether he had the whole journal or not, because he's doing it at the article level. So for example, he may have gotten the whole of Wiley, that's fine. But let's say before Wiley was on some other platform, and maybe the platform is no longer there, and some users just put out a couple on certain IR and so on. So he would have like, for this journal, I would have certain range, then I will have one of these, two of that, three of that, four of that. So they can't actually give you a coverage. Because it's not like they went systematically and said, I want from this year to this year. They don't. So the answer to, so even the super expert is saying that it's impossible to get coverage for journals. It's not say impossible lah. You could say, for this journal, I have this year to this year, then I have one in year 2004 and another two in 2003, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of pointless for them to do it because the way they work is they don't go by journals. They actually go to the whole domain and grab whatever there is. Okay? That said, I understand that there's this interest in trying to figure out what is your coverage in Google's of journals. So you could use Publish or Perish again, a free tool, search by journal and pull out all the entries and see how much of that is inside. Okay? The other way to do it, the fast way is just go to advanced search, return articles published in Asian Journal of Social Sciences, for example. Okay? This method is not very exact for various reasons. Maybe I won't go into that. But if you look at the results, you will say about 2,000. You say about 2,000. But when I use Publish and Perish to pull it out, I get like 2,300. So the number that you see on top for Google and Google, it cannot be trusted. It cannot be trusted. So in any case, I just did a quick comparison. This is Web of Science. This is Google Scholar. Okay, so they have two versions. They include citations and without citations. Okay, you can choose two versions. Okay, citations are basically stuff that it doesn't think that it's full text. So for example, it's like, let's say Scholar Bank, right? So we have uploaded the metadata. Okay, and there's no full text. Those are considered citations. Okay, it also could be a citation because it grabbed a reference in the full text. Okay, so include citations is pretty iffy. If you go inside and look, some of the stuff not quite sure correct. So maybe if you compare without citations, the ones that they are fairly sure and are usually for the publisher side, you'll notice that they are pretty close. In some cases, like this one, the one without citation is actually higher. Okay, it could be because they didn't merge it properly. In some cases, I can even explain. There's one, like this one, right? Web of Science only 279. This is almost double. When I went into Web of Science and looked, I realized that they only had it from 2007 or 8 onwards. While Google Scholar managed to grab more of it. So sometimes, if you look, you can explain. So theoretically, this is just a viewpoint. What you should actually do is, if you really bother about it, is to go to Publish or Perish and pull it out one by one. Okay, but it's extremely irritating to do. Okay, because you can only pull out 1,000 at a time. Okay, so you can only pull out 1,000 articles at a time before it locks you out. Okay, so what you should do is that, like, this one is pretty straightforward. Most of it is from YV, so it's pretty clean. Okay, and this one is in fact less than Web of Science. We just did the YV ones. Okay, so Web of Science is slightly more because Web of Science systematically pull out from YV, while for Google Scholar, they just ran a bot that tries to crawl over. So sometimes the bots get confused, doesn't find a certain web page, it doesn't pull in. Okay, so it's kind of variable. This particular one is probably the most confusing one. Basically because this one has a long history apparently of changing platforms. So they're jumping from platform to platform. I think it was in Genta, currently it's in Brill. Before that, apparently there was stuff in Springer. Okay, but when I tried the link is broken. Okay, so Google Scholar has this thing where they are very fast to index new stuff. Okay, they state that, for IRs and publisher sites, they will harvest 2 or 3 times a week. They're very fast. But the moment you try to change everything, let's say you transfer a journal, the links will remain there for 6 to 9 months. So you have to tell them before they will remove it. So sometimes you may find broken links. Okay? So if you really want to study, you can study. But I think the moral of the story is you can never be sure how much is inside Google Scholar. But if you look at the studies of Google Scholar, when it first came out in 2004, 2005, most of the studies went, Google Scholar is not bad, but there are big gaps in their coverage. The latest ones from 2011 and 12 basically said the gaps are gone. In fact, they may be better. So coverage-wise for Google Scholar, in general, is better than Web of Science, better than Scopus. Only problem is you never know whether your article is inside or not, unless you did a search. Okay, so there are a lot of holes, but in general, they are broader. Okay.
Wait, before you leave this, so if I look at the set of journals. The takeaway lesson for us is that you should actually publish in journals that... See, the problem with Web of Science is that it has a very small population of journals from which it picks. Whereas, of course, Google Scholar picks from all over the place.
Correct. Yes.
So, how do you justify using Google Scholar or using Publish and Perish, which actually uses Google Scholar? I mean, the gold standard is actually Web of Science because there are all kinds of proper checks and all that.
Right.
And the journals that they reference are mainstream journals.
Right.
So if we, and for places like sociology, we value other things, chapters in books and so on.
Right.
So how do you make a case, you know, say coming up to P&T, that we should be using Google Scholar?
Are you talking from the point of view of the administrator that is evaluating or from the...
Yeah, because you see, the thing from the library side is you're always looking at journals. From our side, we're looking at people, me, you know. So we're trying to use Google Scholar because it has a wider net, all right? But everybody knows it's bad because it uses robots, all right? So how do you justify that? How do you justify with the promotions committee that I'm steering away from Web of Science, I'm going to Google Scholar, and they point the finger and you say, look, you're cheating.
I know, I mean, I'm obviously not academic, so, but from my own personal view, obviously not the library, my own personal view, is that I will go for a broad, because we are moving away from concentrating on journal level kind of metric. Just because you publish in a high level journal doesn't mean that your paper is highly cited. We know the distribution of citations in journals is extremely asymmetric. So I would say I would prefer a broad tool that could cover articles as long as they're academic, and not focus on just journals. That is my personal view. Of course, there are people who still feel that that it's important to have checks and balances. As a librarian, obviously, I would say yes. But my view is that we shouldn't really focus on journal level metrics, because if you're using Web of Science, essentially you're only saying only papers published in a certain journal are worth counting for. I feel increasingly we should go at article level. So if I'm talking about article level metrics, I don't really want to be limited to just journals and statistics. It's just my view.
Maybe I can, because we hold this bibliometrics training, and we noticed that during the course of our work, there are a lot of people who actually ask us, can we submit Google Scholar matrix from Google Scholar, Web of Science, and Scopus? We always say that yes. I mean, it's your own P&T, it's your own report, okay? So very often they will submit the three, okay? The counts of the three different databases, and we know that Faculty of Business Administration is doing that. We know that I think School of Computing is doing that. To some extent, Faculty of Medicine, to some extent, okay? But of course, Faculty of Medicine has their own internal sort of criteria. So every faculty has their own, okay? So, I mean, Google Scholar many years ago, it was really, I mean, the counts, but like what Aaron said, it's getting harder and harder to find things that are not really, that are wrong, okay? They have improved a lot. So that's the reason why we felt that the feedback was that they're accepting, okay? That's one. And a lot of it now is also depends on the faculty or the department on what they want to. But one of the most important thing we always share with the faculty or the researcher is you take the information as you see is reported in the database. So you do a screenshot or whatever. So it is hands off at a time you got that information from the database. Okay, that is important because you're just taking what is reported. Just don't, down, like just now Hong was saying that all the content is got back in PDF. So it's not up to calculation. So you just submit that as you see it, okay? Yeah, I hope that sheds some light.
On the specific matter of book chapters, does sharing the full text of book chapters on Scholar Bank increase the chances of Google Scholar picking up book chapters?
Okay, book chapter is a bit of a grey area. We do know that they have a Google Books project, which is totally separate from this. I've seen conference papers as well as I believe one book chapter appearing, not ours, because we don't have that many book chapters, but it should appear. They do cover book chapters.
Just an update. Scopus actually has added their book chapters content into the Scopus database, I think early this year. So if you have papers, if you have books that's indexed by Scopus, it will pick up, they actually index right down to chapter level. So if let's say a book that has cited another book or a chapter, and both are indexed in Scopus, the citation count will be picked up, and that will appear in your, when you do a search under your author, that will appear in your own profile. Okay, we have seen that.
Yeah, just to add to that, I see it inside. It's indexed in Scopus. Just looking at some of the book chapters in Scopus. So, can I go? So finally, we were talking about Google Scholar and whether it can accept or not. So I'm going to go a bit negative, and the index can be less than stable. What I mean is that because it's crawling to get the PDFs. So let's say someone put up some PDF in Academy, so he grabs it. Next day, our saver says, take it down. Okay. And the next day, not the next day, I don't know how many weeks or months later, it will disappear. So this used to be an academic point that I always like to talk about it, but I never experienced it before. Okay? Until recently, we were actually trying to figure out how much of Scholar Bank is actually in Google Scholar. Yeah, don't be alarmed, it says 4,000, even though if you check it 30,000, the reason is because it's only counting the main versions. Okay, so it doesn't pick up the variants. So we know we have 30,000, so we were corresponding to Google Scholar about it. So I was doing this, and we had a final dry run last week. So I was showing to my NUS Librarian, and suddenly I looked at it and suddenly realizing that we had only about 703. Okay. So that doesn't mean by unstable. It's extremely unstable. So you're like literally I was doing it in the morning, it was fine. Literally after I was doing it like that, my examples all died. So my examples are showing me. That's why I couldn't show you the real example when I was doing. Yeah, we are corresponding with them back and forth for the last few days. So they do answer us. They're very fast. So I just got an email this morning. Yeah. So this is just a point about the instability of Google Scholar. So of course Scopus will also change, but Google Scholar is very famous for shifting with the wind. So they may decide this site is, spamming. They'll penalize the whole site, holding disappears. So things like that might happen. So it's unstable. So this is a negative point against Google Scholar. So in our case, it's like half the site disappeared. Okay. So it happens. Okay, so I talked about multiple versions will be merged. So I just shown you this paper, and if you click cited by 38, it will show the 38 versions. So this one obviously will go to the main version widely. In this case, nobody uploaded a free version, so nobody uploaded into either Academy EU, Scholar Bank, whatsoever. But if they did, the PDF link will be at the site. Okay? So the visibility will be there. Okay. How about sites to multiple versions? Okay, they will be merged as well, right? They will be merged as well. So it doesn't matter that there are 5 versions of this. It will count all the sites there. So it's merged. So apparently Google Scholar doesn't care whether you cite a postprint or preprint or a final publisher version. That's how they work. Okay, whether this is good or bad, I'm not saying. Okay, but the biggest bugbear of all, the one that I gave a talk 2 years ago and everybody was asking about it, is that because Google Scholar index is automated, so they grab things that look like articles, PDFs that look like articles. Okay, so that index will have things like library guides, theses, student assignments, presentations, technical reports. So your time cited will also come from that. Okay, so this is the biggest problem of all. Okay, this is the biggest problem of all. And people are disappointed when I say I can't figure out a way to get around this, besides manually looking at the time cited and then removing it. Okay, this one really, there's no way to do it. Basically, Google Scholar's definition is if you are in the index, you are scholarly. That is it. There isn't a button to say, I want more scholars. Sorry about that. Yeah. I was going to show you what is this thing. So I can see, okay, there are two issues. One is for me, I have blog posts that are cited by some journal. So it appears. So this is not a problem. Okay, you can just say I don't show. The bigger problem is, this is one of my papers, and it looks fine, published by, all these are published journals, fine. And then you see one that says LIS 644.7, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this looks like an assignment paper. Okay, so I don't know why it's going crazy. It thinks that it's citing. I don't know why it's counting that. Okay, so you may see some cases of this happening. They are relatively rare, but they do occur. Okay, there are people who study this. So like for example, the author of Publish or Perish, the tool that pulls a Google Scholar, she's saying that it's not a big deal. It will all even out, relatively speaking, everybody will. Yeah. So obviously she's saying that because she's an academic in Australia. Okay. So this one, I'm afraid there's no way to remove it except by looking at it manually. Okay. I would think this is the biggest issue most people have with Google Scholar. Okay. The other issue is Google is famous for creating stuff. You know that even though they are big, they have no hesitation.
Sorry, can I go back to that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one you say is a class assignment.
I think so.
All right, so we have a class and we have like 100 students and we assign some of our readings and the students have to do it in the, what's that website? IBLE or they have to post it, turn it in. They have to turn it in. The 38 answers come out here.
No. Those are behind the password protected.
Okay.
So Google wouldn't be grab it. This is a very particular case. I'm not sure where this paper even comes from. Yeah.
Could be a syllabus, right?
Could be a syllabus. Yeah. Could be a syllabus.
But I mean, syllabus also would count as scholarly impact because it shows that
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
contemporaries would show and view you as credible enough to be assigned as Canadian.
Yeah.
If you take a broad view of impact, right? Even tweets and all that will count. So that's the other debate. So it's like I like to take my own paper. So seriously, all metric is something that the library is studying as well. We're studying systems that include tweets, blogs, something to study. Everybody's studying. So any issues? Oh yeah. So of course, you guys know that Google might be shut down. So there's always been rumors that Google Scholar will be shut down because they are non-paying product, right? And if you notice, Google Scholar used to be on the top row of links. They hit it, and now right now it's under even more or something. It's hidden all the way. So a lot of speculation it would die lah. But in January 2014, he said he even expanded the team. Okay, and you can believe what he said because this came from Nature. Okay. So he said that the team is expanding. So we really have no clue what Google's going to do. So if you want to use this as a source of site, you may worry, let's say you're you may worry that it may eventually disappear. Okay? So there's no guarantee. There are other disadvantages, but Google Scholar is improving very fast. So it used to be that they actually grab the PDF, they take the PDF and they try to figure out from the PDF which one is author, which one is the title, which one is the abstract. And they can get it wrong, it's automated. No human looking at it saying that this is the title, this is author. Just grab it from PDF. So they may get it wrong. So a few years back, someone noticed that it's getting it very wrong. Okay, so it may grab like the section header as the author. And there were a lot of systematic cases. So they reported it, screenshot it, wrote a paper on it. Google Scholar response was extremely quick. Within a couple of weeks, it was all solved. Okay. So this issue might be an issue that you may realize that your paper is not appearing under your name because it credited, let's say, the header, like say introduction. So introduction to the author. Okay. There are such cases, but they're hard to find now because Google Scholar is like on top of things. Whenever somebody publishes something, blog something, you'll figure out an algorithm kills it off. Right? There's a lack of advanced search features. Okay, this one is, for example, you could search by publication title, but you can't search by ISSN. So you remember that's how I showed you the comparisons, why some of them seem to be so high. Another reason it could be because the titles were too generic. So I couldn't search by ISSN to get it down. Okay. Advantages, this one I can go through very fast. because essentially I think most of you are sold. Fast indexing. Okay, they are very fast to index stuff. So let's say Springer comes up with a paper. Okay, within 2 or 3 days, it appears in Google Scholar. Our find more system, you always get questions, why is it not appearing in find more? And then I'll say no, it takes about a month because they have to send the metadata to the company has to study, look through, make sure it's clean and bring it up. So, but Google Scholar doesn't care. They have the crawler, they go in, it's very fast. Even our Scholar Bank stuff is also very fast, generally. Okay? So they're very fast index. So if you want to publish something fast and you want it to appear fast, Google Scholar will have it quickly. This one is the one I mentioned before. They have a wide coverage of cited works and citations and other languages. Okay, so as you know, Web of Science is very English, Anglo-Saxon oriented. So you won't find Chinese journals inside. Web of Science, but Google Scholar, which I'll show you later, they actually rank by languages. So they have publications by languages, Chinese, French, and so on. Okay? Google Scholar is good publicity. Most of you have this, I'll talk about this later. And they can automatically add or suggest articles to be added. So if you set up Google Scholar profile, which I'm sure most of you have, but I saw some people looking at this now, when you post to, let's say you have a conference paper, okay, and you put it in our Scholar Bank, okay, very quickly, it will be in Google Scholar. Very quickly, Google Scholar will ask you, this looks like your paper, do you want to edit it? Okay? In fact, most of you probably set it to auto, you just throw it in automatically. Okay? So throwing things into Scholar Bank is the equivalent of throwing things into your Scholar profile. Okay, that's the point I'm going to make. Okay. Yeah, so they have this find related articles function. They boast that it's very strong at servicing non-English content. Okay, let me go through part by part. So this is the Google Scholar matrix. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to talk a lot. But basically, this is their equivalent of impact factor. They go by publications, they rank them. They use H-index instead of impact factor. The interesting thing about them is that you notice that they actually rank by languages as well. Okay, so you can have a look. I'm not sure how good the coverage is. I think Dr. Sim is telling me that the Chinese ones are not that good. But the answer is at least yes, some. Okay. There are a lot of drawbacks about this, but I think I don't have time to talk about it. But yeah. The other thing you can do is you can try typing in a journal title, and you'll see the H-index will be coming out. Yeah, so we often get questions by researchers who say, I published in this journal, I'm trying to grab either an impact factor and no impact factor. Then they go to Scopus, they go to San Margo and have a look. Still nothing. There's no measure for that journal. And then they come to here and type it in, and it does appear. Okay? So they really rank a lot of journals. Okay, a lot. Okay. So there's something interesting that you try. You try like searching for Singapore, and you notice that some journals appear that you can't find any other place. Yeah, so the related articles thing I'm talking about is that they boast that the related articles is very good. Basically because, as you know, Google is super strong in Google translation. They're very good at it. So there are related articles they boast, enable them to find foreign languages papers. It's something that most related article features in most of the databases don't do it. Okay? My experience is that it did find one in Chinese, from someone in China, and it was relevant for my own paper that was trying.
Can I, so let's say one of your articles is translated to Chinese.
Right.
Does it appear in the citation? Does it merge the citation for English and Chinese versions of your article?
That's a question that I haven't considered that. I will have to check.
It would be a formidable problem.
I suspect it would not much, but I can try asking my contact and see what she says. Because we do have some Chinese scholar there, so we can ask them.
Oh, the same article
Translated, yeah.
two languages.
Yeah, I would have to check that. I have not considered this issue. Yes. Okay. So I was just having fun looking at the Google Scholar citations, and it's extremely popular. The last I checked, there were 970 profiles from NUS. That's out of maybe 2,500 faculty and 2,500 researchers. So it's almost more than 20%. About 660 profiles have 60 sites. So I assume some grad students just created some fun. But I'm sure a lot of you are already in. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. But I'm sure a lot of you noticed that it will give you recommendations. So if you've written papers in a certain area, you published it, they will know that you're probably interested in this area, and they will actually suggest. My experience is very good. The recommended is very good. Of course, it doesn't help if you're publishing in a new area, so it doesn't totally interested. I tried to work around it by creating a fake account and putting in some papers, but it refused to recommend unless you make your profile public. So your profile has to be public before you start recommending stuff. Okay, but they have a very, very good recommender system. At least
What happens if you make your profile public? So you get a lot of messages from them with regard to recommendations.
It's not so much messages. Whenever you log into the Google Scholar citations, it will show at the bottom the recommenders.
Okay.
You don't really get emails, as far as I know.
Okay. But that list keeps,
Yeah.
every time you log in, it just,
Yeah.
then you have to get rid of it.
No, I think it's yeah. It just appears here. See all updates. Hey, it doesn't really bombard you. As far as I know, it doesn't email. Anybody gets emails?
No.
No, right? Yeah, it doesn't. You just gets here. Yeah, it seems to be pretty good, at least in my experience. But I don't know. They differ from discipline to discipline. So this is something I can look for. Yeah, running out of time. So if let's say you really wanted to study Google Scholar, you want to plot stuff, and you want to show your impact, the simplest way is to set up a Google Scholar, Google Citations profile. Okay, that's the simplest way. I'm not even going to show because it's very straightforward. You just log in, create a Google account, go to Google Scholar, click My Metrics, then put in your name, it will group for you, and then after that, and it's very good at grouping. Its grouping is very good. And then after that, you look for the missing ones, just search for missing titles, just add, it goes right in. It's so easy to the point that 660 people have already created. 970 people have created. Okay, it was very fast. Okay, there's a slight problem with Google Citations in the sense that, okay, one problem cannot be solved. That means your time cited to come from different places. The other request we got was, I want to remove self-citations. I'm not sure whether this is big in FASS, but we do get that question from Google Scholar Citations. The answer used to be no, but I figured out a method to do it. I'll show you later. Okay. The other system that you can use that I've been talking all around was Publish or Perish. This one is one of the older systems to pull from Google Scholar. The limitation is that they are one of the few systems that are allowed to pull from Google Scholar. Okay. Google Scholar generally doesn't have an API. They don't allow people to automatically pull stuff from Google. Okay, there are a lot of reasons why some people say it's due to publisher agreements, that the publisher allow them to crawl, but they're not allowed to pull out. I'm not sure whether it's true. Okay. So the main weakness of this system is that if you try to pull more than 1,000 results, it will time out. Okay? So you have to do it in batches. So if you wrote a lot, it's going to be painful. Okay? Recently, there was another way to work around the system.